Yeah, but the Florida Keys are spelled Keys, not Cays.
Well, this is why we're hosting this episode.
Doesn't make sense.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Aly.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I am your host, Aly, and today I'm here with Karla and Katie. Good morning, girls.
Good morning.
Hello, I'm so excited today.
Yeah, we are going to be talking about one of my very favorite Disney anything, but it's going to be really fun because two of us are experienced and one of us is not on this very important topic. We're talking Disney cruising, what you need to know before you go. And Katie, you're about to take your first Disney cruise. You've helped a lot of families Disney cruise, and you are an expert in so many ways, but it's that firsthand. You haven't stepped on the ship yet yourself. And Karla and I both have. We both love it in our own ways for our own reasons. And I can't wait to put you sort of in the seat of our listeners that have not sailed yet and really talk about what do you not know before you go. You know, once you've cruised, it's hard to remember what you didn't know.
I'm so excited because I'm going on my very first Disney cruise next month. And I intentionally did this one as a friend cruise. We did book like a family cruise for next May whenever Matt and I are celebrating our 10-year anniversary. But I wanted to get another cruise in before then just so I could, have that experience and be able to sort of guide my family through it. And it'll also bump us up a little bit with the Disney Cruise Line cruiser category as well, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But I am really excited for my first cruise, and I think you guys are going to teach me a thing or two on here. So let's rock.
I hope so. Yeah, I think that firsthand experience is the very best experience. So it's so good that you're doing that. But I don't necessarily remember what I didn't know, but I remember feeling confused for no reason, the unknown, fear and confusion of the unknown. And I think a lot of people avoid Disney cruising for a few reasons. Number one, it's expensive, right? It is expensive. And we talked on a prior episode, our Disney Cruise Line episode, you can go back and listen to about all the reasons why it meets its fair. It is worth the price tag. We've talked at length about that. We'll talk a little bit more here, but this is more about that information. You're about to book your cruise or you already booked it. And what do you need to know? People avoid it for other reasons as well. I think fear of open water and boats, fear of being stuck, feeling trapped, and fear of motion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is the boat going to move and I'm just going to be throwing up the whole time? Karla, did you feel on your cruise any of those things?
Not those specifically. I've never been one to be prone to motion sickness, but I do remember specifically just being nervous. And it was nervous because, you're dealing with a new app you don't get full access to until you're essentially boarding, right? I was nervous about not having internet and phone and not having access to the outside world. I was nervous about packing like what was needed before my trip. And you know what else was super intimidating was all the lingo that comes with a Disney cruise, like the embarkation, debarkation, the fish extenders, door magnets. Like, what is all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I love that you mentioned the app because so many times when we're planning Disney World or Disneyland, we say, go through the app, look at the maps, look at how you're going to mobile order, get familiar because it's your lifeline. Well, the app is sort of a lifeline on the cruise as well. But if you've ever had a cruise even booked, you know that when you go into that Disney Cruise Line navigation app, it gives you the option to click on board or at home. And you can't do anything with that on board until you're physically there on the ship. The at home tab has a lot of cool information about excursions and dining time and just things about your specific itinerary. But you're right. The booking on board activities, seeing what's happening on the ship from day to day, you don't gain access and you can't unlock it until you're on board. And so there is that layer of uncertainty that you really can't get away from. But in terms of that making you feel nervous, everybody's in the same boat. And once you do open it up, it's not that confusing. So, Karla, you mentioned the lingo. I don't remember being nervous about that, but I've had other people, and then now you. Katie, do you feel like you know the verbiage when it comes to Disney cruising pretty well?
Yeah, I do feel like I know most of the verbiage well, but again, that's because, we're travel agents, so we've studied up all of this stuff. For a lot of other people, like maybe you're not studied up on which side of the board is, the port side and the starboard side and things like that. But we're a little bit more familiar with that since we are trained in it, right? I would say my bigger fears as I'm planning a cruise are, there's all of these excursions that you can do or activities and events that you can do on the cruise. And I have the FOMO. I'm like, oh gosh, am I going to be able to do all the things I want to do? It's the same as whenever people are coming down for like a Disney World vacation or a Disneyland vacation. They're like, how do I do all the things? That's the fear that I'm experiencing right now.
Yeah, spoiler alert, you won't. You won't do all of the things. There's
Yeah.
way too many things going on board. There are way too many excursions. It's nearly impossible to do more than one. So it is important that you pick the one you want to do the most, which your excursion day is probably already come and gone. So you probably already have locked in what you're doing. But make sure if you're listening today, you stick around because we're going to talk kind of at length about these things you need to know. But then at the end, stay tuned for like a more comprehensive list of all the tips, making it as simple as possible for you to follow along that you need to know. And of course, the mistakes that you can make when planning your Disney cruise, because I know I made a lot my first cruise, and I hope that we can help all of you listeners and even you, Katie, not make the same mistakes. And spoiler alert again, mine come a lot when it comes to packing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're sailing out of a Florida port, you're going to be going to most likely one of Disney's private islands. Some of the other ports are not going to make it to one of Disney's private islands. If you're going from the West Coast or up in New York or international, Mexico, those are all ports Disney does offer, but you're not probably going to go to either of their private islands. Be careful not to call those Castaway Cay and Lookout Cay. Just like anything down in the Keys, that Cay is pronounced key. So when you are going to a Disney private island, you are going to either Castaway Cay or Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point when it comes to the Disney islands.
I'm already learning something new because all the influencers and everybody were just at Castaway Key and they kept calling it Key. And I'm like, it's not Key, guys. It's K. Like, what is wrong with you? And here it is. I'm the problem.
Yeah, you're the problem. It's you. It's not K, Castaway K. Key. You're going to the Keys, like the Florida Keys.
Yeah, but the Florida Keys are spelled Keys, not Cays.
Well, this is why we're hosting this episode.
This is the English language in general. It just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. And this is you are getting on the boat and you're not going to say, what's our Lookout K day? And you're going to sound like a pro right away. Embarkation and disembarkation. One of those is like, I cry every time. Actually, both of them. I cry every time. Embarkation is when you get on your cruise. And this is so interesting. I just received an email yesterday. My cruise that I'm going on in November, our embarkation was just moved up an hour. So it's very important that you're always monitoring information when you are cruising, because if I didn't see that, or if I had a travel agent, I am a travel agent, but if I had one and I wasn't one that didn't tell that to me, I could end up showing up an hour late, and you can't be late when it comes to a Disney cruise, right? So your embarkation time is going to be very important. That's the time you get on the ship. And when I say I cry, Karla, you're not a sap like me, but did that bring you any sort of emotion or happiness when you got on your cruise?
Happiness, but not emotion. I'm emotionless.
Yeah, you are. I actually cried every time. I cry every time. I'm going to cry again in November and March.
Do you think Becky cries?
Yeah. Absolutely. Can you imagine if they announced Becky and I together coming on?
Just sobbing.
Each other just sobbing. So you get up to the port and a Disney cast member will ask you your family name and they'll announce you to get on the ship. So it'll say, the Disney Wish would like to welcome on board the Boone family. You have this moment where the whole cast claps for you. It's the best.
I'm definitely going to cry too. I know I'm going to cry. I already cry just like watching the training videos. I'm going to cry.
No, I felt like at least for my first, and then it has happened every time since, and I know it just will continue to, but at least at first it felt like this big moment. Like I had known about it. I had known about Disney cruising, and then we're standing there and it's our turn to finally step on the ship. Embarkation is magical. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but selecting your embarkation time can be very stressful, and it's a very important part of your check-in process. Disembarkation is getting off the ship. It's very sad as well. You're crying for another reason. It feels terrible to get off the ship when that vacation is over. It's very early and everybody's doing it at the same time, and nobody is waving goodbye to your family on its own. You're in a very long line to get off the ship and it's very early. So embarkation happy, disembarkation sad.
Yeah, for sure. As we're recording this episode, I'm just getting back from like being on Disney property, and I hate that let's get back to reality moment, right? Like that's always the struggle.
I do remember being super nervous the day of, and it was just because of the logistics of everything. We drove down to Fort Lauderdale for our cruise, and it was like where to park and not being familiar with the actual port. And then it was the stress of we had multiple families. So the stress of the people that didn't get our same embarkation time, are they going to be able to go on the ship with us? But I do remember very specifically the moment that they said our name and we did walk on that ship, that all of that subsided very quickly.
And once you got there, where did you park?
Oh gosh, we parked, don't take it from me, but we parked in the wrong parking garage. Like we parked in a parking garage that was not the closest to the ship, and it was a trek to get there.
Yeah, that's another pro tip, is to try to book a hotel the night before you're sailing. Regardless of your port, Disney has hotel and resorts that can be packaged right along with your cruise. And you can book a Disney Cruise Line transportation shuttle to take you straight there from one of those hotels. So I'm sailing out of Fort Lauderdale in November. We already have a beachfront hotel packaged right on in with our cruise, and a Disney Cruise Line shuttle that'll pick us up there, drop us off. So we're not gonna have to worry about that. So it might make more sense, especially if you're a local like Karla, to drive. But yeah, familiarize yourself with those parking situations, or try to use Disney Cruise Line transportation. Because if you use a Disney Cruise Line shuttle to get you to your port, you don't have to select an embarkation time. You actually get to get on the ship when they drop you off. I've always been in like boarding group 2, which is right after concierge. So we're always on the ship super early when we do it that way. And you just kind of feel like you get an extra day.
I want to add to this conversation just a little bit because I would say most of my cruise clients I've had up to this point are flying in for wherever they're cruising out of. So you never know how things are going to go at the airport, right? Like you can do everything to make sure you're there on time and whatever, but your flight could be delayed. You might have a layover that gets missed. Flights can get canceled, right? Like, if there's any portion of your trip that's going to get derailed, it's usually the flights, right?
Yeah, arrival day is the one that gets impacted, and it can't on a cruise.
Exactly. And so I usually recommend to my cruise clients, fly in the day before. Your travel agent is well versed in getting you set up at a hotel that's nearby the port. That's, we know how to handle all those details and take that stress off your plate. And I definitely recommend flying in the day before so that it doesn't derail your entire vacation. I think that's definitely worth saying.
Yeah, the know before you go nugget of this right here is you must fly in the day before, and I would not have a flight out before 1 p.m. the next day. Just as a general rule of thumb. Give yourself time to get off that ship and to the airport comfortably, and absolutely fly in the day before. Your arrival day is the one that gets messed with. And if your cruise arrival day gets messed with, then everything gets messed with, because you cannot take a speedboat out to the cruise ship if you miss the embarkation.
Not an option.
Ports of call are where your ship is going to go, where your itinerary is. So you picked that when you book your cruise. Eastern Caribbean, Western Caribbean, down the West Coast, Hawaii, and wherever you're sailing, that is selected. You already know right when you book. And those are called your ports of call. Port side of the ship is the left when you're facing the front of the ship. And the starboard side is the right side of the ship when you're facing the ship. I have stayed on both sides of the ship. I don't know if you remember, Karla, where you have stayed.
Yeah, I don't. I know that people always say one's better than the other, but I don't think that's the case, because when you're going into your port of call, the ports can be on different sides. So where you think you're going to have this fantastic view, it could actually be the opposite. And or you can be pulling into a port where everything's a great view.
Yeah.
I know it has to do kind of with fireworks though, right?
Yeah, you really can't be on your balcony at all with the fireworks that are going off. The thing is a lot of people will say that that starboard side is their preferred side because you get the bigger view of Castaway Key. But for us, we're out of our room so early on Castaway Key day. And actually, both times I've been to Castaway Key, we were on the port side. And I actually loved it because as we were pulling in, cast members that live at Castaway Key were waving to us from our balcony, and we didn't have that island view, but we had like a local personal view, and we were waving at people, and we could kind of see them restocking the ship, and you can see where you're going to get off. It was just fine. And then as soon as we rounded the corner, once getting off the ship, we had that whoa moment of seeing everything. So I really think either one is absolutely wonderful. We're off the ship early, and we are usually the last ones on the private island. I mean, we're running to catch the ship on our last minutes of Castaway Key. We are always the last ones off that island.
What do they call those? Like pier runners. Are you
Yeah,
a pier runner?
absolutely. Yeah.
Have you seen those videos?
Yeah.
So funny.
Oh gosh.
It's absolutely me because we just want to soak it in. I'm a big fan of Castaway Key. I haven't been to Lighthouse yet, but I'm going.
I don't think I could ever be be that person. I'm gonna be the person with a watch, like, all right, we're definitely gonna get there. We should probably get there like 30 minutes before they want people on the deck.
No, absolutely not. Because by the time we get there, the line is gone to get back on. We're just
Okay, well, yeah,
we're
that
just
makes sense.
running through. It's great. It's fantastic. The Lido deck, spelled Lido, but pronounced Lido. That's the deck where the main pool is. That's where the parties are often happening. The sail away party, the pirate party, the fireworks. It's the heart of the Disney cruise ship.
It's the heartbeat.
It is the heartbeat. For those of you that haven't listened maybe to our Animal Kingdom quick service episode, we now declare the heartbeat of pretty much everything. And the heartbeat of the Disney cruise ship has to be the Lido deck, right? Because every Disney sailing is going to have that firework viewing. And did you all know that the firework shells turn into fish food?
Yes, I did. I think that that's why it's safe for them to do that.
I didn't know that, but that's fascinating. I love that. I am always learning how Disney is making extra efforts to be, conscious of how their impact of the world. You were talking a little bit about Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point, I should say. And some people have been saying, like, why is there this really long deck to get to the main part of the island? And I recently learned it's because they have this particular coral reef underneath there, and Disney made their efforts to make sure that they didn't disrupt any of that, biodiverse life down there under the water there. And so that's why that deck is so long. And I'm like, man, they should tell more people about that.
Yeah, for sure. Here's another pro tip. If you are planning a Disney cruise there and you have a Facebook, there is probably a Facebook group for your sailing, your particular sailing. You can find a special group of just people going on it. It's awesome. I always join mine. And in the Facebook group for my upcoming November sailing, somebody was saying that they have wagons to take little kiddos down that long trek. And I was like, but how many are there? Is it like the Hunger Games to get one of the wagons? People were like, yeah, people are already confirming yes. And so my kids at home are already in training for that walk. We're already training for that mile-long trek, but they do have
I have
wagons.
to say, though, you're getting off the boat and you see this super long deck, and immediately your mind is like, I'm about to walk an entire marathon. But actually, they say from the time you get off the boat till you reach the island, it's the same distance as if you're walking into Epcot. And from the entrance gates at Epcot to the entrance of World Showcase.
Do they sell alcohol on that path as well?
Yeah, is there a giant, beautiful ball and just excitement waiting for you? I mean, there kind of is, but
There
like
kind of is excitement waiting for you. Yeah.
that's a cute way to compare the two, Katie.
Yeah.
Unless they're handing out Mai Tais, unless Minnie Mouse herself is handing out Mai Tais, I'm not buying that.
It made me feel reassured. I was like, okay, I feel a lot better than that because we're walking the parks every week, and that doesn't bother me at all.
Okay. All right. Well, the heartbeat of the Disney cruise ship is the Lido deck, and you will have a pirate party on your sailing, most likely. If you are having a special themed holiday, very maritime cruise, or a Halloween on the high seas cruise, there's usually then a separate party up on that deck. And before you sail away on, like, literally as you can feel the ship pull away, they do the sail away party. It's another moment I cry. We try to get as close to the deck as we can. and then they count it down on the smokestack. And then I don't want to give too many spoiler alerts of what happens, but as soon as this thing happens, then you feel your ship pull away from the dock, and it's just
If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, this is not a spoiler and you need to talk about it.
No, I don't know if I am or not. I don't want to judge into it. I just want to say it's special and it's fun. As an experienced cruiser even that's done it many times, I will never not be at the sail away party.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a must because really you shouldn't be anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like at that point, you technically, I don't think are supposed to be in your room yet. I think that they're still normally putting luggage away and all that. And I'm sure we're going to get into the details of that, but it's definitely the remarkable way to start off your trip.
Yeah, they don't, yeah. They don't let you in your room. So you do get on the ship far before your room is ready. And that's your time to eat. The food is open, but the pools are typically closed. So you're exploring the kids' clubs. Adults are allowed in the kids' club during that exploration period. That's the only time adults are allowed in the kids' club. You're not allowed in there to pick your kids up or anything like that. So you can go sort of see it with your kiddos and experience it with your kiddos for a little bit. Sometimes characters are already in there, which is awesome. But yeah, your luggage is still being brought on the ship and your rooms are not quite ready. Your staterooms aren't ready because somebody is getting off the ship 4 hours before you're getting on. And so the turnaround is crazy. So the sail away party, you're right, Karla. That's really where you want to be. If you're not eating, you're watching that party. And then you're going to do a muster drill. That's an important term that you need to know sort of as we're rounding out understanding the Disney Cruise Line lingo. Muster drill is basically just an emergency practice. You're going to get a life jacket. You're going to go to a certain station based on where your stateroom is. And it's an emergency practice should anything bad happen.
And that's on any cruise ship, and you're not going to get out of it. So just go there as quick as possible because they don't start until literally everybody that's on the ship is out there.
Correct. They check you in.
Karla, did you try to get out of it?
No, but it took way longer because I knew people were trying to get out of it.
Oh, that's so dumb.
People think like, oh, I'm one person. Yeah, people are like, oh, they're not going to notice I'm there. And so then those of us that do show up on time are standing there in our with our stuff or whatever, and you have to go. They're going to check you in, and they're not doing anything until every single muster drill cast member has an all clear. It's also important to say that your station is not just a free-for-all. You have to know where your station is based on your stateroom, and do not stress about figuring that out. There are cast members everywhere, first of all, pointing you to where to go. You're not going to be confused. You're going to know. But if you're sailing with friends and family, this has happened to me on because I've never gone just my family. I've always gone with multiple staterooms. We don't always have the same muster drill station. So if your stateroom is separate from friends and family, you may not be together for this portion. But it's very fast.
If you don't make it to the muster drill in a reasonable amount of time, are they like blaring your name over the loudspeaker, like report for training?
I don't think I've heard that, but I'm also outside. Maybe they're doing it inside.
Yeah, I was going to say, I couldn't tell you, but probably.
Yeah, don't be that person that's being effectively shamed by having your name blare over the loudspeaker.
Get your drill. Yeah. Okay. Castaway club levels. This is the last lingo we're going to talk about. This is such an important one. Katie, you already briefly touched on it. Castaway club is something that you're just given. It generates for you on Disney Cruise Line ends, and you get a Castaway Club ID as soon as you take a Disney cruise sailing. And it is based on the number of sailings you have been on. But the coolest part is that to be the first level, to be a silver member, one cruise is all you need.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it's like 5 cruises, you become gold, and then 10 more, or whatever the tiers are. We did talk about this on our previous cruising episode, but the different statuses get you different perks. So right now, Katie, you're going into your first cruise as a new cruiser. But when you go with your family, which is what you said your strategy was, you'll be silver.
Yeah, that was exactly it. We had booked our family vacation, and Matt and I have been talking about our honeymoon now for quite a number of years. So we really want it to be everything that we have been dreaming of. And so as soon as we booked it, Matt's on YouTube. He's looking up all the things we can do aboard the Disney Magic. And he sees that there's this princess tea for our girls. And he's like, oh, Katie, we have to do that. And I was like, oh man, I said, it's going to be our first cruising and it might be really hard for us to get that particular activity. And he was like, can you find a friend and go take another cruise before then? And I was like, sure, I'll go.
It's all for the princess tea.
Yeah, yeah, I'll take one for the team there.
Yeah, I had a friend recently who's going to be going on a cruise, and she was like, "Well, we're trying to decide if we want to get a cabana." And I was like, "I'm going to help you with that decision right now." Like, you don't get to decide if you get a cabana, you're just not going to get a cabana. There are some things that if you're not a concierge guest or a Pearl or Platinum Castaway Club member, they're just hard to get. I don't want to scare any listeners though. Most of the excursions, most of the broad excursions, you're not going to have a hard time getting. There's like one or two that are going to go away really fast, but most of the things you want, you're going to be able to find. Like if you want to swim with dolphins and you're on a 7-night cruise, you can probably do that at like 8 different options.
Mhm.
You're going to get to do the experiences and excursions you want, but you are going to book them at different times based on your Castaway Club level.
I think it's worth noting too that whenever it comes to activities on the ship or excursions or anything, that really varies for every single sailing. It depends on where you're going. It also depends on what ship you're on. The Disney Cruise Line has several ships and they all have different themes. They all offer different Broadway shows. Every sailing has different activities. It's almost the same way that people have a bucket list to go to every Disney World resort. It's almost another bucket list item to get on every Disney cruise ship because they all offer something different.
Hi, Smarties. Karla here from the podcast. You hear us talking about the right way to do Disney, but let's be honest, taking notes isn't exactly easy while you're busy momming and on the go. There's an easy way to get all of those tips organized to simplify your vacation. Check out our 4-part guide bundle available now in our Patreon shop. Also, if getting guides is something you like to help with your planning, joining our Patreon as a Diamond Mine subscriber gives you a new Disney guide every month. Either way, we have got your back on knowing how to plan your park days so you feel like the expert before you walk in the gates.
Okay, that's most of the lingo you need to know so that you don't sound like an amateur on your cruise. But what about before you book? The hardest part of booking a Disney cruise, in my opinion, and the two of you tell me if you think I'm wrong, is that deposit. At Disney World, it's $200. At Disneyland, it's $200. And it's easy to commit to something for only $200. You know, even if your vacation is $10,000, your deposit is too. And Disney Cruise Line is completely different from that. Your Disney cruise deposit is 20% of your total. That makes it a little bit more daunting and difficult to book the cruise because the more expensive your cruise is, the higher the deposit is. It is still fully refundable. But the other piece to that conversation is that Disney cruises also change in price a lot. So for my upcoming November cruise, if I were to book that same sailing today, it's nearly $3,000 more than when I booked it over a year ago. So price for cruises go up the closer you get to sailing and the more that the ship fills up. And so you want to book early, but then again, of course, you have to think about that deposit. So when you have somebody that's saying, I want to save up for the deposit, it's like, well, you can do that. But once you've saved enough, the price might be more and then the deposit might be more. So keeping in mind that it's a higher percentage and that the final payment doesn't have a steady payment due date. On a 1 to 5 night sailing, it's 90 days prior, but on a 6 or more, it's 120 days prior. So keeping that all in mind is really important when you're planning your Disney cruise. And some of that can vary for concierge level staterooms. Very rarely Disney will offer promotions. So just being mindful of what that's going to be. The other most important piece to that pre-sailing is the online check-in. Like with Disney World, you can choose to check in for your resort early. You can do it on your way. You know, it's not really that big of a deal. Cruising, your online check-in is so important. Have you already done your online check-in, Katie, for your August?
My date is coming up in 5 days. So I got the email, keep those emails at the forefront of your mind. I got the email. I immediately marked it on the calendar. I put several notification reminders on my calendar. I'm like, this is the check-in date.
Yeah.
So I'm a little antsy for it.
Yeah, you can do it at midnight. And before you even start to check in, you kind of want to make sure that you verify all of your documents, passport, birth certificate, photos, IDs, whatever you're going to be using. And that is going to be specific to your sailing. So you want to make sure you ask your travel agent or you do the research to make sure you know what documents you need. But on a closed looped cruise that's starting and ending in the United States, we recommend that you sail with a passport. I always recommend you sail with a passport. But it's important to know that on those types of sailings, you can just use a birth certificate and an ID. But those are things you're going to want to make sure you have collected and ready prior to that online check-in at midnight, because it's not until after you upload, verify, and confirm all of that information that you can select your embarkation time.
Another pro tip for this is you're putting in either your passport information, like you said, your ID, but they're also going to require an additional picture of everybody that is going with you. And that picture has to be separate from the pictures from those documents that you already submitted. So I would definitely proactively grab pictures of each person in your family and your party just against like a blank wall, almost like you were taking that passport photo professionally, but you're not, because they want basically an up-to-date picture of each person that is sailing on the ship.
Yeah, that's such a good tip, because if you go to do your check-in overnight and you have kiddos, check-in is not something that your travel agent can do for you either. You have to do your check-in on your own. So you don't want to wake your kids up in the middle of the night because you forgot to get their picture.
Yeah, so definitely have that handy.
Yeah, and do it. I personally would do it right when you can, just because you want to get that good embarkation time. Have the app downloaded early. That's another really great pre-cruise tip. It is where you're going to see daily itineraries, but you can also communicate through that app. So anybody you're linked with, friends, family on board, if you have small kids that go to the kids club, they send you notifications through the navigation app. So I'll get a notification that says my daughter wants to be picked up. I went there so many times just so my son could give me a hug. He didn't actually want to be picked up, but that's how magical the communication in the app is.
Yeah, it's actually really smart because that was one of the things that I was worried about when I was on there having kids and how we were going to communicate. I think that we even packed like walkie-talkies as if we were going to use those, but it was nice having the app to be able to communicate.
Port adventures and onboard activities, a lot of them do require early reservations. So knowing when your port adventures booking date is very important, and which things you can reserve each day. So the Royal Gathering, which is the time where you can meet all the princesses in the main hall, that is not bookable by Castaway Club. That is bookable the day you check in for your cruise. So knowing things like that are really important. But then most of the other onboard activities, massages, drink tastings, mixology classes for adults, and then all of the excursions and things for your kiddos, the tea parties that Katie was talking about, picnic with Olaf on some ships, things like that. Those are done specific to your Castaway Club and specific to your cruise date. So being mindful of when that date is very important.
And then also being mindful that you don't have to do any of those things. Everything that is included in your cruise will keep you happy and occupied and entertained. There are so many things that you don't even think about prior to getting on the cruise. You're not aware of the bingo and the trivia and the movies and the shows, and all that will for sure keep you occupied.
I love that tip.
That's kind of the strategy that I'm doing here for our cruise in August. I'm sailing with our friend Taryn, and we just said, let's just go and see what, if you're just doing a Disney cruise and not doing any excursions, what is that experience? I'm still believing that it's going to be the fullest vacation that I want it to be. So I think that's a really great tip too.
So dining time, there's two main seatings, early and late. And a lot of people, I think, flock to that early seating. Most people want that early dining. I just want to say that there is a good argument to not be scared of late dining, even with little ones, because making the early dining time from a port can be very, very stressful, especially if you're a pier runner like me. We get back on the ship at, it's by the time we're back to our room, it's nearly 5. And then we need to be seated at dinner in like a half hour. It's a really quick turnaround. If you've been at the beach all day, getting showered, getting dressed, and getting there, you can see all of the shows, all of the movies, everything that's happening either happens twice or happens at a time that's convenient for both dinings. So don't be worried about any of that. Don't be scared of whichever dining time you have. I have personally seen that main dining, the earlier time, fills up faster, and a lot of people get defaulted to late seating, and you can wait list early, but just choosing that dining time, but also understanding the pros and cons of each, because I think people it's easier to forget the pros to eating later.
My family personally did the late dining, and that's really what we wanted. And Number one, food is accessible to you pretty much anytime you want it. So
Mhm.
you're never going to go hungry. But for us, it was all about the shows and being our best, most awake self, getting to see some of these amazing shows and getting to see them earlier as opposed to after dinner when you're naturally like winding down, getting tired, that type of thing. So yeah, we actually love the late dining option.
I'm really glad that you said that because for our family one that we're doing in May, we're in the late seating and I have been a little antsy like I have to try to get on the main seating. But Karla, your point there about let's enjoy the show. Yeah, that makes so much sense. You can get food on a Disney cruise anytime you want to. So it doesn't really matter.
I was even going to say too, Katie, and this is maybe a good pro tip. And Karla, you really made it make so much sense with that being awake.
Hmm.
You want the family time on the cruise, and you're going to get so much of it. You can have the best family time watching the show. And then if your kiddos are just too antsy to sit for a dinner after that, get them something at the buffet. It's 24-hour food on a Disney cruise.
Hmm.
Get them something quick, send them to the Oceaneers Club, and you and Matt enjoy a quiet dinner at the late seating.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I will take that. Yes.
Time out, time out. I don't think they offer a buffet at dinner.
They don't. Get them a quick bite on the Lido deck, like up near where the buffet is and fast, like quick food is
Hmm.
being
Yeah,
served.
and or even room service. I don't think people know that room service is 24-hour, like 24/7.
Yeah, if I were you and I had the late seating and I was especially nervous about Tally, like being so little,
Hmm.
I would feed them before and then be like, go play for a couple hours, be sisters and have that time. And you and Matt go just sit quietly and enjoy all four courses. And you have nothing to feel guilty about. Like they're going to be so happy. Like it's just.
I am so sold. I am beaming at this news, you guys, because Matt and I don't often get date nights. I think I've said that before on the podcast. And the thing that I love about a Disney cruise is that we will have as much family time together as we want, but we also have that open door that I know my kids are safe and secure, and also having the time of their lives in the kids clubs that I really wanted that. I wanted to be able to have some time with Matt. So this is just I'm beaming. You have totally completely changed my mindset on that late dining.
Oh, good. Because there are restaurants you can reserve that are adult only, Palo, Remy, and Enchanté, depending on which cruise you're on. But really, it costs extra when the main dining halls are included, and you can just do this strategy and save a little bit of money. So yeah, date your spouse on a Disney cruise. It's fantastic. Getting to the ship, Port Canaveral, you can take a shuttle straight from Disney. I do that every single time. And in Fort Lauderdale, I'm taking a shuttle from a hotel that we package. So I think it's important to know that just how you're getting there. We already kind of touched on that. Ubers and Lyfts are fine. If you're driving and parking, you want to study that so you're not Karla when you arrive at your port.
Not only that, but don't rent a car so that then you can pay for that rental and then you also have to pay for parking when you're not going to be using the rental. Don't do that.
No, do not do it. I have a family I'm helping that's sailing out of Alaska, and they didn't want to stay in one of the hotels that could be packaged with Disney. So we weren't getting a Disney shuttle, but they wanted like a personal Disney service. And I was able to get a private car through Disney Cruise Line added to her ship. Like there are really awesome ways to get to the ship. You just have to ask, that it's going to be possible. And being from Florida, the two of you, have you taken the new Brightline?
I haven't yet, but I know Becky has taken the Bright Line and said it's a really great option for people that are getting from that sort of South Florida area up here to the more Central Florida area. I'm hearing wonderful things.
For those that don't know, the Bright Line is kind of the speed train that goes between now, I think Fort Lauderdale and Miami directly to MCO, which is Orlando International Airport, right?
Mhm.
So this would be a great option, honestly, if you were going to do Disney World for a couple days before your cruise, and then you didn't necessarily like the sailing out of Port Canaveral and you happen to be going down to Fort Lauderdale. Again, not having to rent a car to drive down there to hop on the train. I think it would be a super easy, seamless way to get down to the port.
I love that.
Yeah, that new Brightline is amazing. Couple of things not to pack. This is a good one for people that have never cruised.
Walkie-talkies.
Do not bring walkie-talkies. Do not bring an iron, a heating pad, a power strip. You guys, on our very first Disney cruise, my parents went with us. Guess what? My dad, tried to bring through security in Port Canaveral.
Fireworks, because he's a fireworks guy.
And that's such a great guess. I think they might have taken him like elsewhere if he tried to bring on a firework. But guess what he tried to bring that they took? A Keurig.
Oh, God.
A Keurig. A Keurig.
Your dad is so serious about his morning coffee.
A Keurig. He tried to bring a Keurig on board. Why? And then they confiscated it. They took it. You can't bring anything like that on board. He was devastated, but guess what? When we got off the ship, they still had it. And they gave him,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've heard they're pretty good about that.
they're great. So they did take his Keurig, but please don't make Disney confiscate your electronics and don't bring on a coffee maker and don't bring on an iron.
You can bring on like hair dryers and flat irons, right?
Flat iron, yes. There are hair dryers in the room.
True, so not necessary.
The other thing that's commonly confiscated are pairs of scissors. People will bring a pair of scissors to cut the tag off of their new dress for their dinner, and those will be confiscated too. So don't bring the scissors, cut the tags off before you leave.
Yeah, I cut every tag before I pack. You also don't bring a beach towel. We had custom towels made for our oldest daughter once when we were going to take our first cruise, but then it was in 2020, so it got canceled. Now that we've cruised many times, I'm like, what were we going to do with those custom Disney cruises? What were we doing? Don't bring a towel. Absolutely not. They have plenty on board. I would consider maybe a multi-port USB charger, something like that.
Also, don't try to sneak in alcohol. You do get, I think, bottles of wine you can bring on. So not actual spirits, but you can bring on wine. And it is
You can bring on like a 6-pack of beer. You can bring on a case of water.
2 6-packs or 2 bottles per family per room.
I think serve everybody well to read your cruise guidelines is always what I say. You know, things can just always read what is allowed when you are boarding the ship so that there's never any confusion. You know, you can bring alcohol on board, specifically the amount. I would always read your cruise contract that you have to sign anyway before boarding, but you do have to carry it on. It can't go in your luggage. So keep in mind, you're going to be walking around with whatever you carry on board for a couple of hours because your room isn't going to be ready until around the afternoon hours. So you're carrying anything you bring on, you're carrying it.
Can we, opposite of that, talk about some of the things that you should and can bring?
Pro tip to bring and to pack, magnetic hooks.
Yes, those are very helpful. I think I sent you mine.
You did, and I still have them. Most of the walls in your stateroom are magnetic, and there's not a lot of space. So getting things up and off the floor, your bathing suits, your towels, anything that's wet that you want off the floor, there's not a lot of space to put it. So get little magnetic hooks and put them all over your metal walls, all over your stateroom, and it just keeps your room clean and off the ground.
You know what else I've seen that I didn't personally pack, but I probably would next time are the over-the-door shoe. They're like plastic little pouches that you would put your flip-flops and stuff in, but that is a great way to put bathing suits and suntan lotion and all those little things. While the rooms are fairly spacious for being a cruise ship, when you pack 4 or 5 people in them, it very quickly becomes overwhelming if you're kind of a freak like me. And that's one vanity tabletop area that you do have quickly becomes overwhelmed with everything. And then when you go to order room service and, you know, your coffee in the morning, you have nowhere to sit it unless that's completely cleared off. So that little organizer thing really helps keeping everything, like you said, up off the ground, up off the counter. It's just very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything to get things off the ground. So the best thing were those hooks though. The magnetic hooks and the shoe organizer are like, put them on your list right now.
This has to be like the sisterhood of the magnetic hooks, and I need you to send those to me now.
Yeah, totally.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Along with those hooks, you also want to get door magnets. If you're a newbie Disney cruiser, you might feel left out if you get on board and you don't have a door magnet. People decorate their doors and they take it very seriously. I've been on Halloween sailings, holiday sailings, you know, and both times we did themed, but you don't have to even go all out. You just want to get some magnets for your door, get little character ones that, you know, each of your family member, you could get online and find cute ones or make some of your own, but I don't go without your door magnets because I think you'll feel left out.
By the way, we have a whole Amazon shopping link for the podcast for cruises. So definitely check that out. We have a lot of these things in there. You know what else I'd love to bring, and I don't want to move on without saying this, is I'm a cup girl. I love my Stanleys. I love my tumblers, whatever. Bring those because sodas, water, juices are all complimentary on the ship. And they give you really small plastic glasses or cups or whatever. I hate drinking out of them. I loved being able to just go and fill my tumbler up and then go back to my room, go to the pool, wherever.
Yeah, for sure. And what's a fish extender? Katie, do you know, are you participating in any fish extenders?
You know, I love pixie dusting people, and I haven't given much thought to our fish extenders yet, but it's definitely something that I want to do. I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm going to do it for our upcoming trip, that is just sort of adults only, but I definitely want to do it whenever we're going with the kids. So the fish extenders are unique to Disney Cruise Line. And basically, it's people hang things outside of their stateroom doors and they'll say, take a little pixie dust with you, and they'll bring things to like pixie dust other people. Or my understanding is if you're planning on pixie dusting people, you can put things in their fish extenders if they have them outside their doors, right? So you can be proactive about that either way. It's a cute little thing to do, bring those little rubber bracelets and the stickers and, whatever else you feel like pixie dusting people with.
Yeah, you can actually link up with another family and you can get information on the ages of their kids, all that stuff. People go all out for this. I think it's really cute. It does add an sort of pressure that if that's not quite your thing, then just alleviate it and maybe decorate your door and be done with it. And maybe even you decorate your door and pixie dust your own kids and they have no idea type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you can actually find this again, like Aly said, in the Facebook group. There is a Facebook group specific to your sailing, but then you have this opportunity to link up your fish extenders with another family. So it's a whole thing. I think it's pretty cool.
I think it's amazing. And I'm so glad you said you sign up for it on Facebook. And the reason, just a little more backstory, so it makes a little bit more sense. The reason it's called a fish extender is because each Disney stateroom door has a fish hook, and you hang your gift thing on that fish and it extends it down. So that's, I believe, where the name fish
Yes, and
extender came
any
from.
communication that the ship will have with you, they will hang it in a baggie off of that fish.
Yeah. Yep. So important to know. Okay. Embarkation day. I think a lot of people, this is an important know before you go. That day you get on the ship, we've already said it a couple of times, you don't have a room yet. The pools aren't really open yet. They sort of start opening them after the sail away party, but you get on board and what do you do? What's happening? Well, the cruise is cashless. Everything, once you get on board, is charged to your stateroom, and you put a card on file for your stateroom at check-in for your stateroom. So when you do that online check-in, you put your card on file, and then all of your onboard charges go to that card. You're going to want to drop your bags with luggage handlers at the port. Unless you took Disney transportation, then they take your bags. So like if you're staying at a Disney resort or hotel prior to your sailing, sometimes they've taken our luggage the night before. Sometimes it's early the morning of, but once they take it, once the handlers at the port or the people at your resort take your luggage, you don't see it again until your stateroom. They drop it off outside of your stateroom. I would not be worried about that at all. It'll be there waiting for you when you get to your room. It's fantastic, so easy. And don't forget, you'll need to use cash to tip those people that are helping you. So most of your ship gratuities are going to be for your stateroom attendants and your servers at dinner, and all of those are called the ship gratuities, and you either can prepay those or pay those at the end of your sailing. Not included in those are those people that are handling your bags, right? So make sure, because the sailing is cashless, that you have something to give them when they're helping you. But what does that mean when you're waiting on your main bags? What do you do? What if the pool does open and you want to swim, but your suit is in your luggage? What, Karla, did you do? Or Katie, what are you planning?
So, pro tip is that you're essentially going to pack, think of it as a carry-on, like those valuable items. And I'm not talking about valuable price tag wise. I'm talking about valuables like medications, sunscreen, things that you are going to need in the interim of the time between when you enter the ship or walk on the ship to the time that you get your bags. And I'll be honest, I remember last time we went, my personal room got our bags in a very reasonable time. But I remember my friend, which was right next to us, she didn't get her bags until after we were supposed to be going to dinner.
That's a long time.
I think that that was pretty uncommon, but also in the back of your head, good to know, because if I know that now, then I'm going to pack accordingly. If I need to pack like a little sundress or something, just in case, I might throw that in that bag that I'm going to keep with me all day long.
Yeah, that's exactly my plan. I'm gonna wear my swimsuit underneath my shirt and shorts that I'm gonna wear on the deck. So that way I can hit the pool whenever I want to. Of course, we already said the towels are provided, so I don't got to bring anything like that. But I am planning on bringing like a full other outfit that I can change into after I'm done at the pool and be ready to go to dinner or anything like that that evening. And my medications are going to be with me. So that's pretty much what I'm taking.
And another pro tip, bring a small wet bag. Like Katie just said, I'm going to take my suit off and change. Have something, a wet bag.
Yeah, or a Ziploc.
Yeah, or something that you can put your suit in once you're finished swimming that isn't going to make everything else in your bag wet.
That's actually a really smart thing to add to your just packing list in general is gallon Ziploc bags. I feel like those always come in handy when there's a tropical vacation involved or water in general.
Yeah, and we don't usually swim right away when we get on board. We usually do have our suits on, especially the kids, just because it's easier. But we use that time, those early hours on the boat before the sail away party, before our first dinner. We tour the ship. My kids love the Oceaneers Club so much. They love it. And so much so that when I got them out for the pirate party on our last sailing, they were like angry with me. Like, take us back. We don't want to be here. They love it. And as their mom, I can't go in and experience it with them. No adults can, except for that touring time. So they love to go in there with you and show you all the areas if they've been before, or explore them and learn about them with you beforehand. And then when they're telling you stories later on the sailing, you've been in there with them and you can ask them better questions. So make it a point to go tour that. And really every other area. You can tour the spa. You can see like the rainforest room and all the different spa areas. And kind of walk through and experience that on the tour. So it's all really definitely learn the ship in that first like 2 hours.
And I was going to say, when you're touring those kid clubs and you do have kids, hype them up and get them excited about it. Because like Katie said, getting to have that one-on-one time with your spouse is something that is probably more doable on the Disney Cruise Line than any other Disney vacation. So that's going to be huge for you. I think that time is probably going to be really important for you to go in with them and just get them comfortable with being in there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then of course you go to that sail away party and the spoiler I was hinting at earlier, the smokestack.
Are you succumbing to a spoiler?
You should.
I'm not going to give it all the way away, but the smokestack horn plays Disney music. And it is so spectacular, and it is what makes me cry. And like, I know my dad recorded it and he'll just like send me the sound sometimes. It's just a happy moment. And the ships play different songs.
This is what I didn't know prior to hopping in our recording today. I thought they all played that When You Wish Upon a Star. I had no idea that it played other songs. And so now I'm like, oh boy, like, let's go.
Well, and I believe it's by ship too. Like, I don't think every ship plays every
what
song.
What did the Wish play? Because the Dream definitely played, I'm not going to sing it, but what Katie just said.
Yeah. The Wish did When You Wish Upon a Star as well. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yes.
That math is mathin'.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked a lot about the lingo, so you don't sound like an amateur on your cruise, and what to do when you get on the ship, what to kind of pack, what not to pack. Take a quick break and talk about some pro tips for during that sailing, the things you may not expect.
Hey, wait. I know you're ready to get back to the podcast, but I've got something very simple for you to do. Join my Facebook group, Disney Planning Made Simple. I'm Stacy, one of your podcast hosts, and I have a sweet, friendly Facebook group made for those of us who thrive in the simple pleasures of life, things like family, food, and Disney. Join at facebook.com/groups/Disney Made Simple or follow with the link in the show notes. We'll be so happy to see you there.
All right, we are back, and I'm excited to dive in a little bit deeper just about the actual sailing itself. While you are on board, we've touched a lot about the clubs, the kid spaces, the areas that everybody can be and go. There's an adult area. Karla and I have both had experiences in the adult area that we don't remember as well as we maybe would have not in the adult area. But the kids get to go to the Oceaneers Club. You have to be ages 3 to 10. That's a recent change. So if you've sailed Disney before and you think I'm incorrect there, it's a change actually. 10 is now the max age. You must be potty trained to go to the Oceaneers Club and lab. If you're not potty trained and you have a kiddo that's 3, they can go during an open house. They can see it. They can play in the splash pad and a swim diaper up on the pool deck. But swim diapers are not allowed in swimming pools. That's really important to remember. No diaper of any form is allowed in the pool, not even a swim diaper. But you can go in the splash pad. But my oldest daughter, we have 2 upcoming cruises, and the second one will probably be her last time going to Oceaneers, and she's already like in mourning because 10 feels young to me. Like I've sailed with 12-year-olds that loved Oceaneers, and now it's 3 to 10, and 11 to 14-year-olds, that's like that little tween. They can go to the club called Edge, and then for 14 to 17-year-olds, they can go to Vibe. But I just personally have found the Edge and Vibe have a lot less people in them
Lies,
than Oceaneers.
lies, lies, lies. This is where Liam was living his best life as an 11-year-old.
Oh, really?
He was in Edge. So I think I can't remember if it used to be 3 to 11. I want to say that was it. And then they allowed the 11-year-olds to kind of pick which way they wanted to go. So Edge, you can actually check in and out as the kid yourself, as opposed to the Oceaneers Club, which you have to, go to a cast member and they have to notify your parent to come get you. They have a obviously different way of doing things, but it is definitely more, they let them be responsible for themselves and they let them navigate the ship on their own in groups to do different activities. So don't doubt it for your 11 to 14. I know that middle schoolers and that kind of age can be a little like awkwardly, they're just awkward. They're like, little weirdos, but let them be weirdos together. And again, like hype them up for that time, because I'm pretty sure Liam was coming in later than we were going to bed at night. And, as long as I was able to communicate with him through the app, I felt comfortable with it. So he still talks about it and he still communicates with those kids that he met almost 2 years ago now.
I'm actually so glad you just offered that insight because with my daughter being so sad about leaving Oceaneers soon, I love that she's going to have something that she feels more grown and more self-sufficient. She loves that kind of stuff.
And I want to circle back just a little bit to the Oceaneer Club thing where Aly, you had mentioned that you have to be potty trained and everything, and you can't go in the pool with a swim diaper. I feel like a lot of times this is sort of an obstacle for families that they're like, I don't want to sail while my kid is too young because we can't go in the pool. Would you say that that's kind of a silly hump that they shouldn't worry about that, like detracting from their vacation too much? How do you feel about those splash pads and other things that can entertain the kids?
Splash pads are amazing. But I do think like you're not going to spend hours in a row at a splash pad, but your baby will love the splash pad. It's the bottom line is nothing on a Disney cruise can ruin your vacation because if your whole family wants to swim, you can put your not potty trained baby in the Small World nursery for 2 hours and you can go swim with the kids that can swim.
I think that you have this kind of, anybody would have a misperception too about the pool just being like this grand, huge thing that takes up, the Lido deck. And in reality, it's actually, in my opinion, it was pretty small and it was very small compared to some other cruise lines that I've been on. I never even once went in the pool because of the size. And I know my kids did, but really they were all about the slides, the aqueduct. We haven't even talked about that yet, but there is way more to do there than swim. And something else that I really like about the splash pad that I think Disney was really smart about is that it's all in the shade. So you don't have to worry about your kid getting beamed with sun for hours. It is also fully enclosed. So if you don't want to go in there, and you surely don't have to go in there, that you can put them in there. You can fully see around it. It's glass and they'll have the time of their life.
Absolutely. Great points. Yep. My kiddos have always been able to be in the pools when we have sailed, but I have been with friends who had little ones that couldn't, and they love the splash pad. Nothing will inconvenience or dampen your Disney cruise because you always have an option to put your kiddos in a club or in a nursery that they will love, and you can enjoy the things that you're scared you won't be able to. So I'm not worried. I wouldn't worry about that, but I agree with you. It's a reason that people don't book. The nightly shows are amazing. We've already talked about the Broadway quality. They really, truly are. And each ship is usually offering 2 different ones at minimum during your sailing. We have seen Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, and there are more that are offered on the different ships, but they're all incredible. They're so great. Fireworks at sea. The only cruise line that offers fireworks at sea, plan for pirate night if you're going on a cruise, pack a pirate outfit. We go all out. We go crazy for pirate night because it's fun, but honestly, just an eye patch will do. But don't be the person that shows up in a Hawaiian shirt and nothing pirate. Like, you want to have something pirate themed. You want to go out there. You want to see the fireworks. And for any Smart Moms travel agents listening today, the Hidden Mickey will be fireworks. But it's just such a special night. Again, that's another time for you to cry.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe all ships have the pirate night. Is that correct?
It's not on every sailing.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think I just had my friend go to the Alaska sailing, and they have something. I want to say it was like some sort of Frozen themed party. But this is kind of one of my issues, or something that I was nervous about again, was like, you always hear about these pirate nights, but you have no idea when they're going to be. They normally are on your private island night. But then again, if you're not going to a private island, then when is it? We can't really tell you. You'll have to find out through your Navigator app, but it definitely, whatever it is, whatever the theme night is going to be a ton of fun. And just like you, Aly, we went all out on ours and had a blast.
Yeah, that is such a great point that you can't see your nights ahead of time, and that even for an experienced sailor can
Doesn't
be.
that drive you nuts? Like, tell me what I need to pack for.
Yeah, I'm feeling the sweat there a little bit. I'm like, oh, I have to step up my pirate game right now, and if it'll be there.
It will. It will for you for sure.
Other things for on while you're on your sailing, know before you go, keep an eye on your navigation app. Character meet and greets are everywhere all the time on a Disney cruise, and they're outlined in the app. So you can find every character that's going to be out there greeting and where, and you can plan to be there to meet that character. That said, I also have noticed many spontaneous character meet and greets. So some that aren't even in the app that you just happen upon. So if you're worried about not seeing characters, you're worried for nothing. They're going to be there. I don't personally get off the ship at every port. I like Nassau. If I'm on a sailing that goes to Nassau, I typically don't always get off the ship. I use that day to meet the characters, to do the Aqua Mouse or Aqua Duck, and do all of those different things.
Yeah, and also in the app, you're going to see, something that we did a ton of was crafts all over the ship. And they were crafts for, some were like adults only and adult only locations, but some kids you can go. So if it is rainy or like an overcast day, or you're just not feeling the pool deck at that point, there are activities all over the ship, including some of the latest Disney movies pretty much play all day long, which is just another way to occupy your time.
Yeah, any Disney movie that's in theaters probably playing on the ship. So like as we're recording this, Inside Out 2 probably playing on a Disney cruise ship. And of course, that's not something I can see right now. But my assumption is if it's a new Disney movie in the theater, you can probably see it on board, which is really cool. Booking a placeholder, another really important thing to plan for. If you're going on a cruise, you're probably going to love the cruise. You're probably going to want to take another cruise. A placeholder is something you can do to allow you to take another cruise and it be a little easier. So you can do what's called a placeholder reservation, where you pay $250 or $200 on board, whatever it is. It's an inexpensive deposit, and basically you lock in a 10% off rate for your next sailing, which is amazing. And then when you go to book it, you only need to pay the remaining balance of whatever that deposit is. And I think what I want listeners to understand about being on your sailing is go with the flow. It will unravel itself, and don't stress. The navigation app, while you can't really see it ahead of time, is easy to navigate once you're using it.
The beauty of a Disney cruise is it's all the magic and all of those moments and memories that you treasure from Disney, but all of the relaxation of a cruise. Like if everyone's criticism of traditional Disney vacation at the parks is your vacation feels like go, 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 like we have to hit the next thing to the next thing. The idea of a cruise is you're supposed to go and be stress-free. So don't add any unnecessary stress to your plate about silly things beforehand whenever you're really going to relax and you're going to have an amazing time no matter what.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that people are always looking for all-inclusive vacations. I think that this is your Disney all-inclusive vacation. Your price that you're going to pay for your cruise is going to encompass everything you need to survive during that time, and you're going to have an amazing time.
The last little piece here of the know before you go for while you're on your sailing is disembarkation. When you're disembarking your cruise, you can choose to do where Disney carries your luggage off. You have to have your luggage ready by a specific time. They come and get it, and then it's organized for you in a very easy to understand way once you get back on land. If you have an early flight, which I don't necessarily recommend, but my family is doing on an upcoming cruise, you can do what's called express walk off. And basically, you can get off the ship right when those port doors open, but you have to carry all of your own luggage. So, keeping all of that in mind, they do typically serve a breakfast. You'll be given a dining room that you can go to and you can have a full seated breakfast, but it is really early. I think we had to be at breakfast at like 6:45 or 7 when we did it. And I'm just not typically ready to eat a full meal at that time, but I know a lot of people are. So, it's usually an option to do that. And there are options for Disney to carry all of your luggage off, or you can do it yourself.
It's a sad and it's honestly, it's a kind of a chaotic day. I feel like, it does feel very rushed. So just be as organized as possible and don't try to linger. There's no point in lingering on the ship. Just
There's nothing open. There's nothing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like the ghost of your amazing vacation all around you. It's terrible. All right.
I'm already a little bit sad about that.
Awful. When I'm in the disembarkation line and it's just getting shorter and shorter and I'm getting closer to the exit door, I'm just miserable. It's just sad. All around you, it's like, oh, remember when we did that thing there and that thing?
Yeah, it's not a fun day.
Yeah, awful. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to be giving you all the just wrapped up in a nutshell tips you need to make your cruise an even better experience.
Hey there, friends. I'm Katie Boone, one of your podcast co-hosts. I'd love to invite you to join my Facebook Disney planning community called Planning Disney with Babies, Toddlers, and Preschoolers. In my group, I love discussing all the aspects of planning your magical vacation with little ones. Find my community at facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. Again, that's facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. When you join, don't forget to tell me you heard about my group on the podcast. See you there.
This has been really fun for me. I love talking cruising. Katie, I saw your eyes light up on so many of the little nuggets that we gave you that you maybe didn't realize or that now have you more excited, which makes me feel like probably some listeners are maybe either more willing to try this or more excited for their own sailings if they already have one booked. So I'm very excited. Don't forget that if you haven't already joined our Patreon community in the Diamond Mine subscriber status, you can do that. And you can get a monthly planning guide that will make you an even deeper expert. So if listening to today's cruising episode, Know Before You Go, made you feel even more prepared for Disney cruise vacation, think about what those guides can do for you for your Disney vacation if you just had them in your back pocket. We love offering those to our listeners and subscribers. So take a minute and do that. If you're listening to this on a Tuesday because it automatically downloaded right wherever you listen on any platform, we thank you so, so much. That helps us more than you realize. If you subscribe and turn on the automatic downloads, it's the best thing you can do for us as the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. We appreciate that so much. And while you're there, you may as well leave us a 5-star review. Recently, our listener TDM1109 wrote, "Great podcast. The hosts are so knowledgeable about all things Disney and provide great insights and information to help you make the most of your time at the parks." I hope that today's episode also made you feel like you can make the most of your time on the ships as well as in the parks. And we thank you so much for leaving that review. Okay. Quick tips to make your sailing the best it can possibly be. Self-serve drink station. They're everywhere. They're on the pool deck. There's multiple. You can get milk, juice, tea, hot or iced tea. coffee, hot cocoa, lemonade, water, fountain sodas. It's no charge. Those are there for you. They are open 24 hours. Soda is included, which is different than other cruise lines. So you can get them at the drink stations all day long. Be mindful of where you're getting your drink though, because bars or snack stations at the movie theater or at the live show snack counter, they charge for soft drinks and things. So be mindful of where you're getting that. Fill it up before you go to those because it is included with your ship fare. The drink of the day, an alcoholic beverage that can save you a lot of money. We grab one immediately when we get to the sail away party. They're $5. They change it every single day. They are not weak. Karla, did you do a lot of drink of the day?
We did. And we also took advantage of, in the breakfast buffet, they also have an area for mimosas and Bloody Marys and things that were also $5 or $6.
Yeah, you can get creative and make your own drinks. You can get that kind of thing together and make concoctions. I recommend that. They have almost like food truck, fast food type spots, sort of opposite of the buffet on the Lido deck. And you can snag things from one area and snag things from the other area and really mix and match. It's just the food is really good and really plentiful. You have unlimited soft serve ice cream. So, make a root beer float. It's all included. It's all free. And I dream about the banana soft serve. I love it so much. Do you know what a shop talk is?
I really don't know because I didn't do any shop talks.
Yeah. Do you know, Katie, what those would be?
Yes.
So like the jewelry shop will do like a show or a conversation. They entice you to come to a certain shop so they can talk about whatever it is. And then they'll usually give you a little prize at the end.
Okay, then no, I didn't know about that. I thought you were going to say another thing.
I will say that my mom loves the jewelry show. At the jewelry show, they gave a free charm that you could only get if you came to the jewelry show. And then every day you could go back to the jewelry shop and get a free charm. And so she built a charm bracelet for herself and for my oldest daughter, and it became like her favorite thing to do on the cruise.
I'm like your mom. Let's do that.
Another pro tip when it comes to shopping, if you see something at the beginning of the cruise, do not wait to buy it till the end. We were on a very maritime sailing, and I really wanted, I think it was either like the lounge fly or the jersey, and I waited too long. And once they sell out, like you're on a ship, they're not, they don't have tons of back stock. They're not bringing more in tomorrow. Like it's done. So definitely if you want it, get it immediately when you see it.
The other thing is whenever you get off at Castaway Key or at Lookout Key, they have exclusive merchandise there on the island that you will only see on the island. So if you want it,
Buy it.
now's the time.
Pro tip, don't go to the theater. This is sort of what I was saying about soft drinks. Don't go to the theaters and buy snacks. Food is included. Grab your snacks up on the Lido deck from the buffet, from any of those little stops that I was just mentioning. Grab your cookies and your treats and whatever you want. They do sell refillable popcorn buckets on the ship. I have bought those similar to the park, but don't go spend money on snacks when you can get the snacks and bring them. Room service is an option and it's free, but I would tip these people. So I think remembering to have cash is very, very, very important because you prepay your gratuities or you pay them at the end of your ship for only the people I mentioned before. Anybody else that's helping with a bag or bringing you room service, you're going to want to have some cash on hand. So while the ship is cashless, that doesn't include the tips that you have to give. So please just bring something for that. Bottled water is expensive. I would bring some on board or bring, like Karla said, a refillable cup to fill your water. That's important because you're allowed, so don't spend that extra money. And having lanyards is a really helpful tip. Lanyards for your key cards to get into your rooms and to charge everything. However, Disney Cruise Line has finally started making a transition to Magic Band Plus. And Magic Band Plus is now starting to be accepted on different Disney cruise ships.
I am on Team Lanyard all the time, even at the Disney parks. I know that there's convenience of a Magic Band or, those extra little immersive tidbits with a Magic Band Plus. But whenever I'm tackling Disney with my kids, I like to just have all of our tickets on the ticket card on my neck, and I just scan them quickly as we go all the time. So I love that they're leaning into that on cruises, and I kind of wish that they would just lean into that in the parks too, because you're paying for a Magic Band. That ticket card is free.
I will say though, as far as the kid clubs, you are required to have a Magic Band on. And if you don't have the Magic Band Plus from home that you brought with you, then they will be giving you one, giving the kids one at check-in. And they do have a way to keep them on the wrist, so that baby is not budging. But yeah, if you don't have one, they will provide you with one. And then I want to say, and I did not know this, you do have to pay for that Magic Band. I don't think you probably, at least I did not realize that I was paying for it. But supposedly, if you turn it back in after, then you get that money back.
Oh, I learned that the hard way when one of my kids somehow lost theirs. Somehow they were the one kid that got the lock to remove. And my other kid walked off board with it on.
Yeah, oh yeah. My kids all walked off board with theirs on. So, yep.
Yeah, so we got charged for 2.
Yep, us too.
So there you go. Yeah, bummer. I'm Team Magic Band all the way. My wife and I both have Magic Band Plus. We just bought my oldest daughter her first Magic Band Plus, and before our sailing in November, we'll be buying my twins Magic Band Plus. That way we all just have it. It's universal for the parks and for the ships, and we do it all. So it's going to be great to have. I will say though, as Castaway Club members, they will leave a little gift in your room sometimes. And on our last cruise, we were silver status, and they left us silver colored Disney Cruise Line lanyards that are really nice and like rubber lined for your key cards. So now that they're going to be making the transition into Magic Bands, I wonder if they'll still be giving those away, because I also saw gold status members with them in gold and things like that. So I actually did like that little gift. I thought it was awesome. Okay, I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions to wrap this up that I think might still be lingering in listeners' minds, and you give me your quick answer. Okay, Katie, you first.
Okay.
If you're doing an itinerary that doesn't include Castaway Cay or Lighthouse Point, is it worth doing Disney Cruise Line versus another cruise still?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I would say probably the most popular cruise that Disney offers that's not going to one of those tropical Caribbean type places is usually an Alaskan Disney cruise. And those are life-changing. Those are completely amazing. The characters have their own unique costumes on an Alaskan cruise that aren't anywhere else. And they do such a great job of talking about the locations and everything. This sort of dabbles a little bit into Adventures by Disney too. You can travel anywhere across the globe with Disney, and they're going to give you that same exceptional quality experience no matter where you go. So I absolutely think it's worth going on to a different destination as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Karla, should you take a Disney cruise if you only want an adult trip?
Does a bear poop in the woods? Yes. Yes, you should. Now, should you if you don't like Disney? No, probably not. But if you're a Disney adult and you like Disney, there is plenty of ways to entertain you, both on the ship and off, adults only areas, spas, bars, fun, etc.
Did you ever go to one of the Newlywed shows on board?
Yes, I love the trivia. I love all of that stuff. The bingo. I mean, it's all fun. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess my last tip here would just be to do cruising your way. Get involved on the ship, do the activities, find the things that are fun for you, do the trivias. Or if you don't like all of that, don't do any of it and just lay on the Lido deck by the pool, watch the movie and put your kids in the kids club because they're going to love it. There's really no wrong way to do this. You can be super involved. You can be super relaxed. You can have family time. You can have adult time. You can get a massage. You can do a zip line. Disney cruising is literally so much fun. It comes with a lot of stress and anxiety prior to embarkation. But once you are there, all of that melts away. It's literally the best vacation. Katie, I cannot wait for you to go on one. I can't wait to go on my next few. I know you're going to have more in your future. You already have one booked, and I'm sure you're never going to stop now that you start.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that is going to do it for us today on the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I sincerely hope everybody feels more knowledgeable and more excited about Disney cruising. Of course, if you want to book a Disney cruise, you can find it on all of our social media and on our show notes to work with one of the podcast hosts and help that dream become a reality. And until next time, we'll see you all soon.